Hello, I'm Lloyd Moyer. It occurred to me that I haven't done a whole lot of bowl turning lately. So today I'm just going to take this bowl that's been curing and drying, and I'm going to finish it. Real simple, simple little video. I don't expect anything too dramatic, other than some basic bowl turning. I haven't turned any bowls in a while, even that I haven't been recording. So I'm looking forward to it also. Thanks for watching. First thing I'm going to do today is to just put a ridge on the inside of this bowl so that I can turn it around and finish the outside. That is a quick process. I have seen it done where you put the ridge in before you let the bowl cure and dry. I don't do that because it sort of defeats the purpose for me, because the once the bowl dries and warps, that the circle that you have there, the ridge that you have there, doesn't really do you any good anymore. So as you can see, this has moved quite a bit. I'm just making sure, because that is moving so much. I just wanted to make sure that the bowl is sitting sitting nicely in the chuck, which it is. So it actually has moved this much. I'm just gonna take some of this out of here. Um, it will make putting the ridge in much easier. I'm also going to clean up the rim just as far as unevenness is concerned. And I use my little dovetail tool. If I pick up the right tool, that helps. A little dovetail tool here to put in just a simple little, oh, that's going to be too big. And maybe I'll put in a couple little ridges for the chuck to expand into. Do one more. Maybe I'll use my mid-size but deeper chuck jaws to do this. That should fit right in there. Good. Generally, I do consider it a good idea to use one chuck when it's possible, but I actually might use this mid-sized record chuck for the base also. Make this base a little smaller. That's gonna be for that one. Okay. So now I'm just gonna even all of this up. And I believe I will do that with my spindle gouge, at least to start with. I don't need this to be pretty yet. I just need it to be even. That needs to be sharpened. So I'm just going to switch right here to my bowl gouge. And I can see what kind of progress I'm making by watching the horizon up here. And you can see the uneven part will give you sort of a shadow, like a ghost, where it's there and then it's not there. Speeding this up here to just under 1200 RPM. My tool rest does not feel tight enough. Pretty cold out here in the shop today, and sometimes that can affect the metal expanding and contracting, and affects how tight my tool rest gets or doesn't get. Even just the chain can make a difference. All right. When I first roughed this out, I had planned to have a band of some beads or something along here, and I may still, but that's what that band is there for. Let's get to the base. Three-eighths spindle gouge. Just very slightly dovetailed, and then I round off the corner. Clean that up with my skew scraper, or shear scraper, beg your pardon. A little bit low. This is not usually how I hold the tool or stand with the tool. just trying to make it a little bit more visible. There's some tear out here from the, there's actually some very pretty grain um, in this maple. And oftentimes pretty grain doesn't cut as nicely as basic grain. It just means you gotta do it a little more slowly, a little more carefully. No big deal. So little piece right there. That feels good. Now I want to, actually I'm going to put an extra edge on my bowl gouge and come up here and give it a nice finish cut. This isn't quite the finish that I want, or it's quite the shape that I want yet, but I'm going to get there. So I think it's pretty important as far as form is concerned that you don't have the curve be too flat down here by the base. You want it to sort of spring out from the base. That way you get a much nicer curve and a sort of a sweeping, gentle curve up from the base that makes the bowl not look bottom heavy. And since we're talking about curves, it should be graceful. Curves should be gentle and graceful and not angular, not sharp, not sudden. Think about all the curves that you see in life and the most pleasing ones. Um, they're always gentle and um, sort of deliberate. So it's very important when you're talking about the form of your bowl. This may not be something that a buyer or a user will consciously notice, but it's one of those things that's very hard not to notice subconsciously. It should feel nice when you hold it. It should look nice when you look at it on a table. And even if you don't recognize that you're seeing something pleasing, your brain will know it. When I have a band like this that I'm going to have with some, or that I'm at least thinking of having with some beads or some texture or something on it, you want it to look like it's a plain bowl with the band put on afterwards, meaning the curve should continue underneath the bead or the band. So it gives the illusion that it's two separate pieces. That's not something that is always easy to do, I will tell you. Although a larger band like this is, at least at the moment, does make it easier because it's simply further away. So the margin for error is greater. Just giving this a shear cut with the side of the gouge's bevel, because I was cutting in the opposite direction you're supposed to cut. So now for this band. I usually make a point of sharpening all the tools that I'm going to use before I start turning, and certainly before I start turning on camera. And I got kind of excited about just turning a bowl, and I forgot. So I'm starting out by just trying to make this band even. And then I will come and put the actual beads on it. Still an uneven spot right here. I did not. I had the tool open a little bit here, and it just got dragged back. When you're going in, you have to be careful to go in all the way over on its side, which I suppose I was not. We won't let mistakes get in the way, though. It's quite all right. So I was thinking about either doing this with beads, or I could do this with my texturing tool, which, if you watched my previous video, you know I don't have a whole lot of patience for my texturing tool. But I think this actually might work with it, because it's a flat surface and an even surface. So I think I might give it another shot. Well, I'm going to have to take this down a bit. This now doesn't have to be perfect if I use my texturing tool. So let's give it a try. So the texturing tool has to be far out from the workpiece and right about even with the center. And they don't recommend that you turn much more than 500 RPMs when doing this. So I try and get it pretty close to that. This is about 550. Now, what I was actually thinking about doing was doing a cross hatch of this, but I think I'm going to leave it because I actually like this texture like this. Yep. This is not really how this texture is supposed to look, but it's the one that I most often get off of this tool, and I don't mind it. So I'm just going to clean up the edges now. Turn my speed back up. All right, and that's going to get sanded. Now, I don't want to put any wax in the textured part of this bolt. Just because it's going to get oil. Because the wax will gum up even the sock that I'm using here can gum up in the texture. I will also occasionally do when I do a texture, you can do a stain or a paint before you do the texture, and then your texturing is multicolored, which looks neat also. You want to do it on this one. Okay. So I'm now going to go back in with my my bowl gouge. And how thick or thin you make your bowl is obviously up to you. I like mine to be thin enough to not be clunky and thick enough that you can drop them on the floor. Sometimes I make them unintentionally really thicker than they need to be. And sometimes unintentionally I make them thinner than they need to be. But if it's a consistent wall thickness, that's what's important. Your curve on the inside should complement the curve on the outside. Not quite even on the rim here either. Still a little bit out of round. I also should say I'm not a huge fan of flat rims. I think they should be, either tilted in just slightly or tilted out just slightly or rounded off, something. If it's just flat, it seems like you didn't think about it. And I do think part of the artisanship of creating usable pieces like this, a big part of that is paying attention to the parts that don't normally get paid attention to. Now, I see a lot of um, experienced turners as well as beginners who try to do the whole bottom with a gouge. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, that some people have specially ground gouges to be able to do the bottom. Or I think you can even buy specially ground gouges to go across the bottom. But a well-used and well-ground bowl scraper does just as well. Which is what I have found. And I used to be scared of my scraper because it was so hard to get a good cut. Or at least I thought it was. Really not. Again, it's just a matter of going slowly and gently. I also saw a question on one of the groups that I follow about how you deal with either a lump or a divot in the middle. And the way that I do this is you go below center, right? You see how I'm making a little bit of a curly cue there. You go below center and lower the tool handle so the edge rises up through the center, and then you come out. That's the best way I've been able to figure out how to do it. People sometimes ask me, can you really get as nice a cut with the scraper as you can with the gouge? And the answer is yes, although it's different. Not always as easy, but you can get just as good a surface with a scraper as you can with the gouge. I will also modestly say that doesn't mean I always can. I'm just saying it can be done. Always practicing. See, I'm getting some end grain tear out there. Although, I mean, this will sand perfectly easily, and it's not any harder to sand than these ridges that you get with the gouge. What I am going to do is put a fresh burr on this. And with that, not only do you get a nicer cut, sometimes you can even get rid of um, some of the ridges that you made with the gouge. Yeah. Much, much better. So there's the remnants of that tear out is still right there, but that's going to come out with my sanding, I think. I'm going to take one more pass at it and then stop messing with it. Yeah, okay. Really like how this bowl has just this little stripe of heartwood. Glad I was able to retain that. Seems to me that this bowl is just about perfect size for an eating bowl, whether it be for salad or pasta or mashed potatoes. Just the right size, shape, hopefully weight. My favorite bowls to make. It has a beautiful grain pattern, has some beautiful figure in it. That tree will stay alive for many, many years, I hope, even though it came down. Shoot me a comment. Tell me what it is that you like to turn. I love to turn salad bowls or usable eating bowls. What about you? Tell me about it. Tell me what you like about this one, what you don't like, what you think could be better. Until next time.